People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
This is it. We call the place the Bates Motel. Hey, Danny. This is my little sister.
It's nice to have you here.
I'm in a desperate state.
I saw the sign out front about the job.
Guys, all of us, now! Is this it? You got a safe?
I saw what you did yesterday. You popped him. I came here looking for you. I'll teach you about what we are, and you can teach me. We're all still in hiding, still afraid to show ourselves, as if the witch hunters are still onto us.
They are. They've just changed their names. You finally got your Ouroboros.
I did, yeah.
I felt something. I finally found real love, and something horrible inside of me starts to starve. What if I took some horrible hidden part of myself, put it in that tattoo? I feel like this thing's been inside of me my whole life. Something horrible inside of me starts to starve.
Calm, Anna.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of the Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I'm talking with Maio Mackay all about her film, The Serpent's Skin. The film opens in New York on March 27th and Los Angeles April 3rd. After that, it is expanding out to several theaters across the U.S. Check your local listings, and I hope you enjoy this interview. Can you tell me a little bit more about you and how you got interested in filmmaking?
I guess I was always interested in telling stories, just writing. And then I was a voracious reader when I was younger. And then I was also involved in theater. I was a little bit of a theater kid. So I guess storytelling in different forms was always part of my life. But then I think I started the stories I was writing, I was envisioning in film. And then I guess pop culture was always just very my life. I had access to a really good public library when I was younger, so a lot of the things I would see would be not what the kids I knew were watching. I watched Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, the Marx Brothers, a lot of British sitcoms Are You Being Served and Keeping Up Appearances, and then the Munsters, the Addams Family, and then I soon kind of discovered horror adjacent 90s soaps Buffy and 90210 and Charmed, and I guess I just became enveloped in that world.
What motivated you to finally pick up a camera?
I think that was actually a silent film festival, and I was doing Lego stop motion at that time, just by myself, really basic shitty kind of stuff, just because I was I want to start projecting what I'm seeing in my head to something that is feasible and that you can do by yourself with nothing around.
You mentioned horror, and I'm curious, what attracts you to horror? What do you like about that genre?
Grew up, I wasn't a big horror fan. I loved horror adjacent things, but I wasn't intensely into being scared. I remember discovering the Scream TV show on MTV, and that was the first more mature 15 plus kind of thing that I watched, and I was I loved it, but I wasn't really watching it for the gore, and I found myself watching these horror properties for the characters or for the relationships and the more melodramatic elements. So for me, horror has been just a way, a device to further the relationships between characters and take things to like the next level. Like I think in like some of my earlier work, like it's a lot of trans final girl like bashing back at like vigilante and things like that. And I think if it was just like a hangout film without the horror elements infused, it would just be like sad and like dreary. Whereas like having being under like the guise of the genre, it allows me to like take it to like the next level and allow characters like to get catharsis and things like that.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the people that you've worked with over the years?
I've been like working with the same DOP and like costume designer for quite a long time, Aaron and Iris, and I'm really grateful for them. We've grown as like this hive mind together. But then yeah, recently like on my last two films, I've worked with Vera Drew, who did like The People's Joker as an editor, and she's just really amazing. Like I was a fan before I was a friend. I remember we like both met for the first time in person at Outfest. We were shooting a scene for Louise Weird, who produced this film, her like film, and that's kind of like how we met. And it was really cool to work with someone you looked up with, and she's just so incredible and like really helps reshape the film through like my vision. And then Jessie Dunn Ravanelli, who's like a great filmmaker as well. She did So Pretty, which did Berlin a few years ago. She did like the color grade on this film, so it's like really cool being like fans of like a lot of people's work and then like, utilizing the like special elements to work together on something.
With Serpent Skin, is that kind of an updating to Serpent's Nest that you did back in 2021?
Honestly, like the only connection is the names like, similar, but like maybe like the heart of it is a little same, but honestly it's a complete like different world. Like you don't need to watch that film to like, watch this film and like vice versa. I feel like that film's kind of like darker and it's set in like the 70s. It's like just taking like elements I really just wanted to revisit, like the witchiness and like the love story and like codependence, but like in a new kind of form.
Can you tell me about your co-writer on that and Serpent Skin, Benjamin Paul Robinson?
We've been working together since the very beginning, like even before like Savan, my first feature, we were like doing shorts together and we were just like introduced, like I was doing work experience on this like TV show where I lived, and then he was like friends with the DOP, but he'd just moved out of the country. So I never met him, but like we both bonded over I love like Clive Barker and like 80s genre stuff and like Doctor Who and like all these cool things. Yeah, we've just been working together ever since, and like we've still never met to this day, but we just have such a really good like working relationship.
Wow, I thought for sure you would have met your co-writer.
I know. Yeah, we haven't even spoken on Zoom. It's all just like long emails and like occasionally a voice message.
Tell me, how did Serpent Skin come about?
I think I just like, wanted to do something that was like a departure from my other work. Like it still has the campy elements and like some like times it's a little comedic, but I knew that I wanted to delve away from doing something so political. Like I think a lot of my films are about like trans people like living in the world and like dealing with outside problems, which is like I've told those stories for now that I wanted to explore within that. So I wanted to do something a little more akin to like I grew up in like the supernatural like romance boom, like Twilight and like Beautiful Creatures, like Mortal Instruments. That was very big. Even like True Blood. I watched like way too young and like read the books, and I loved that a lot. So I think I just wanted to do something about rather than like the outer demons, like your inner demons and how like transposing those onto others and like unresolved trauma and ultimately also trans love being like a superpower and like being like the magic. We shot it in 2 6-day weeks in Adelaide, Australia. Like we don't have a lot of money, so I think that kind of comes back to working with some of the people from the very beginning, like Aaron and Iris. Like we really are on the same page from the beginning. And I think with a film like this, like a lot of it is like pre-production and like post-production, because like we're so limited to what we can shoot on the days. Like everyone has to be like so like on the same page beforehand. Like really having the actors like understand the tone and things like that is like so important.
Tell me about your cast. Your actors are fantastic.
Alex is a great actress from America. I'd seen her like work on an HBO show before she transitioned, and so this was like her first feature role since transitioning. So it's kind of like really special to create this like role with her. And then Avalon is like a fantastic filmmaker. They just put out Camp, which is like doing festivals at the moment. And they just, we like hung out a little bit, just like sharing the same festival circuit and just being in the film community. And then she was like, I'd love to like audition and start acting if you have anything. So like that just came about that. And then like Charlotte, who plays the sister, and like Scott, who plays like the record store manager, they're like both actors from Neighbours, like a soap opera in Australia. So I was just like a fan watching that. Like that was like a comfort show, like during the pandemic, especially. A mix of being fans of people's work, being like inspired, and just kind of having like, the right people for the right film.
I was really taken with your score. Can you talk about your composer?
I've worked with Alexander Taylor for like, a while, and he's really great. And he brought along a co-composer, Eduardo, as well for this one. So like they do all like the kind of like beautiful score, like the homage, like Psycho and things like that in the beginning. And then I was also really fortunate to work with the Addams Family. I'm not sure if you're familiar with their work, but I used a lot of their like music. They're like a family who like made like horror films together, and they kind of was the right mix of poetry and like death and like gloom and like love in their music. So it was like a mix between Alex's work and Eduardo's work, and then this really cool band.
I know, again, making movies aren't easy, and you talked about the budget being pretty low. What were some of your other challenges making this?
Honestly, the prosthetic stuff was like challenging. It's not like super prominent in the film, but like when it does, you can't really do it quickly. So that's a big issue. And then like Danny, he's just like a completely like, different person in real life, which is like great and like so fun to like, be able to have an actor who's like, so willing to like transform. Like he dyed his hair, had all the fake tattoos, but in doing that, like it doesn't not take a long time to get that already each day.
Can you tell me a little bit about the post process and like working with Vera and getting this edited?
Yeah, so I was honestly the time zone helped because we were shooting in Australian time, and then would upload like the dailies. Louise, our producer, would have a kind of like an assembly cut pretty much like at the beginning of like each morning, like when we woke up. So that was kind of like helpful to see what we were shooting, like going forward each day. And then Vera got like the footage, and then she's like really good at like recrafting the footage like through my vision. Like I've worked with editors before which are like amazing, and it's like very kind of like stuck standard, whereas like Vera like really understands like the inner workings of the film and like what I'm hoping to accomplish and see, like, especially like with the dreamish like nightmare kind of visions, especially like during the montages and like the overlays. She adds a new perspective that maybe like, wouldn't be there without that.
When you have your first cut of it, do you start showing it around to friends, or are you just like, nope, this is good, I don't need any feedback?
I think it's tough. Like I feel like I'm very like nervous like showing like rough cuts to like people. Honestly, it was just a lot of like back and forth with Vera and I, and like Louise, the producer. Like she's really good for notes. Like she provided a lot of like help like during the script process as well. But I think Vera and I just kind of like trusted each other that we were like doing the right thing, and just like sticking true to like our original vision without like too much interference.
When do you get to see this with an audience for the first time?
Actually, this is the last leg of the festival run before the film comes out. Friday, the 27th. Yeah, I think. So I did like my last festival at British Film Institute like last week. And then the first time I saw it with an audience was in Fantasia in Canada last year in like July, which was really cool. I've been like lucky to like play a lot of international like festivals, but I haven't always had the opportunity to like travel there, especially at the beginning and like COVID and things like that. So the Serpent Skin is kind of like the first time I'm like traveling like properly around with a film like during the beginning of its like run. Like T Blockers, I played like MoMA 2 years after it came out, and that was like great seeing it with an audience. But like during its like first initial run, I was just like, I don't know like what the vibe is. I haven't seen it like in a theater with anyone yet, so it's been really special just like following the film like country to country and like seeing it during its like rollout.
So what's next for you?
I've got a film in post production at the moment, which is kind of like a different vibe entirely. And then like I'm writing something else that I'm like hoping to get like a bigger budget for, and that's the vibe at the moment.
Is there a good place for people to keep up with you in Serpent Skin?
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, or X, and like Blue Sky, just like Alice Maio Mackay.
Alice, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
on the block with my head made of rock. And I ain't got nobody. I'm the state of the art. Got a brain a la carte. I make the babies cry. I ain't one of the crowd. I ain't one of the guys. They just avoid me. They run and they hide. Are my colors too bright? Are my eyes set too wide? I spend my whole life burning, turning. I'm a teenage Frankenstein, the local freak with a twisted mind. I'm a teenage Frankenstein. These ain't my hands and these legs ain't mine. Got a synthetic face, got some scars and a brace. My hands are rough and bloody. I walk into the night, women faint at the sight.